Testing, testing. Black Man Renaissance. This is Black Man Renaissance. Welcome to another episode of Black Man Renaissance, man. So I think this is like the third episode of this year. So I'm glad to introduce this guy coming up, an independent filmmaker. I guess the next wave of content creators. Very, 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 very talented guy. Frantzy, right? Frantzy?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You said it right on the money. You said it the way I like it to be said.
I had to say it the Haitian way.
That's great. That's the best way. Everyone says Frantzy, like, hey Frantzy, and that sounds mad like fancy, like son. I like Frantzy, Frantzy. That you know what I'm saying? It sounds like a man, like, yo, what's up? Yeah.
Frantzy, you got to put some sauce pois on it, man.
Yeah. Yeah, sauce pois, man. Legume. Yeah, bruh. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. That's cool, man.
Yo, so how are you, man?
Oh man, doing good. Yo, thank you, man, for having me. It's an honor to be on this. You said third episode. Wow, that's awesome, man. And I like the title, Black Renaissance. That's so intelligent. I love that, man. I feel great about that because I do consider myself a Renaissance man. Because I'm heavily influenced by the likes of people like Donald Glover, Andre 3000, and those type of individuals, and people back in the Rat Pack days and stuff like that. So yeah, man, I'm honored to be a part of this, bro. And but to simplify the answer, yeah, I'm doing great. How about you, my dude? How are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing great. I'm glad you brought up Donald Glover because when I was watching What's More Important, I got a lot of Atlanta vibes.
Yes. And you know what's crazy? A lot of people are like, yo, don't you feel kind of, I guess the word's not disrespected, but they're like, yo, don't you feel kind of weird being like compared to Atlanta? I'm like, no, that's like one of the greatest shows ever. Of course, I would love to be compared to that.
Oh, so you get those comparisons all the time?
I've gotten the comparison before. I remember we had gotten our promo in the Shade Room, and I remember like the comments were like, "Yo, this is like Atlanta," and I was like, "That's great," because essentially what I wanted to do and what I liked what Atlanta did was I feel like it gave a different lens to the Black life. With Atlanta, essentially, you would have gotten something a little bit, somewhat like, and this is not a knock on the show, Insecure. Insecure is an amazing show, by the way. Shout out to the writers, Issa Rae, love her. But essentially, a show like that, I feel like it's similar to like Awkward Black Girl, kind of like those shows that do kind of switch up the narrative a little bit, but at the same time, it still embodies somewhat of that sitcom like the Blackish, and Martin, things of that nature. Maybe a little
stereotypical.
Yeah, I don't want to say stereotypical, but it still is sort of like, I want to say it's attached to the I guess normalized Black narrative. It's about love,
Cliché.
Black couple love, and which is fine, and I'm totally with that. But when you look at Atlanta, it takes a different scope entirely. Like, it gives you a different viewpoint on, for one, like the episode with Teddy Perkins. Come on, man, come on, that's incredible. You know what I'm saying? The Teddy Perkins episode. I mean, there's an episode, the FUBU episode. Those things touch on different kinds of what I would say Black narratives that don't essentially have to attach itself to the typical Black love narrative and things that we kind of like what I liked what Donald did was he just took a fresh take on what I feel like black people have been talking about, and I'm talking about different kinds of black folk, not just your typical black person. Like I feel like the constant advertisement of black people are, hey, look at this guy from the hood, look at this girl, and like Issa Rae, shout out to her. She brought out Awkward Black Girl, and there were black female comedians who were already doing that initially, but when Issa Rae did that, she did bring a new lens, and Issa Rae herself is a fan of Donald, so I think she understood the idea of sort of like this a different type of black, a new black, not the typical black that has been Hollywood's kind of like crutch. Like they've just been like, oh yeah, let's throw this slapstick comedy, like the big old googly eyes and minstrel show type of black comedy. Whereas they were like, hey, we can tap into the awkwardness. We could tap into the Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Seinfeld, very witty type of comedy, witty black comedy. And I think what happened is I essentially knew Donald was already going that lane just by what he wrote on 30 Rock. But when Issa brought it together with Awkward Black Girl, I think it was a fresh new take because it was the first time they saw a black woman's take on the awkwardness and that different type of black woman. Because I feel like the black woman was always this edgy, sassy black female, whereas like she took a different take. And what I like, and what in turn happened at that time was a black renaissance, I feel. And when that black renaissance came, Donald, I feel like was I feel like when Donald came, it was sort of like, you know how there's this trope right now that's happening with the police brutality and stuff like that. I feel like right now, and this is sad to say this, but people are beginning to become desensitized by that narrative. And I hope to never happen. But because of that, I feel deeply when it comes to like stuff like insecure, uh, just like blackish everything. I feel like they tack onto those tropes very hardcore, and they do the narrative and they do it beautifully. But when Donald attacks it, he attacks it in such a way where you can't help but be like, whoa. Like the second episode of the first season of Atlanta is incredibly dope, and it touches on every single aspect, whether it's the prison system for blacks, police brutality, black mental illness, black mental health, mental illness, everything. Literally, it tackles every single one of those things, those subject matters in one episode so geniusly. So shout out to Stephen Glover, Donald Glover's brother. He wrote that episode, and to
Wow.
me, I was so like blown away by how they could do something like that, and they don't have to attach those tropes like, oh, black love and everything like that. But they just took a regular black story and they said, hey, look, this happens, you know, and we're gonna show this, and because we feel like, and that room, that Atlanta writing room, is black people. You know what I'm saying? So they're
Right,
like, yeah,
right.
we're not gonna let Hollywood tell our story. And usually when Hollywood tells a story, they're like, well, you gotta attach something to it. Make it this. Make the white people understand what you're doing, what's going on. If there's no black love and there's no trauma, how can the white people blah blah blah, blah, right? And they're like, nah, man, like we're gonna write our stories. And when they did it, and I watched it, I said yes, yes, because they did it the way that they wanted to do it. And I feel like that's one of the greatest shows ever. That's one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my life. And I do like Dave as well. I think Dave takes a different look into that whole world. And because I'm a big hip hop fan, I think that's also another reason. So that might be a bias, but Issa Rae raps in Insecure and Awkward Black Girl. And I think that's genius when she does that. So that's, again, like I said, that's nothing to take away from Issa because I think she's extremely incredibly gifted. In fact, I would love to be a part of her little conglomerate. of writers and everything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like Donald is just so on another level, man. He's so ahead of his time. Him and his whole team, him, Stephen Glover, Ibra, um, Famuel, like that whole team, that royalty team that he surrounds himself with. They're geniuses. They have very progressive conversation. That's why I dig every time I see Atlanta. I just love it. I can't every time it drops, and I rewatch the episodes like religiously. Just learning new things all the time. So yeah, I think it's just creatively genius everything. So yeah, that's long answer.
Yeah,
Short
I mean,
answer. I love it.
there was this documentary that came out back in the '80s called Black Hollywood. I'm not sure if you saw it, but it touched on just the history of black films in Hollywood and how historically, our narratives were told by through somebody else's lenses,
Yep.
right? And then certain projects wouldn't get greenlit unless it had this element or that element, and I feel like now with the advent of the internet, look how awkward black girl took off. You're able to look at what's more important. You're able to tell your story and put it out and it's straight to consumer, direct to consumer. So
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about this person. You know what, I'm a stakeholder in this, so I get to tell you what I want. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you get to just be 100% you. And I think that's what it is now. I think Hollywood's taking notice that, what, Frantzy knows what he's doing and he has an audience. So let's not try to tell him how to tell his story. Let him tell his story because he has his audience, and hopefully
Yeah.
we can put our money behind it and get everybody else to love it.
Yeah. Hey man, thank you. First of all, thank you for watching What's More Important. Thank you for just like diving into that show, man. It's funny because the influences for that show were Atlanta, obviously, Mr. Robot, and Boy Meets World, and those are like kind of the three shows I kind of packed into, morph it into what I always wanted to pretty much talk as an autobiography of just things that I have gone through. Like each and every episode is sort of something that I've done, that I've been a part of, have experienced. And some of it obviously is maybe hyper realized, like realism. I mean, it might be hyper realism, but for the most part, all of it is true. I mean, even like the thing with the gun and like I don't know if you saw the episode, but
Yeah, so that,
the
yeah.
guy and he's talking about the knife, like all that's happened, and I feel like uh, when I saw initially what really inspired me wasn't Atlanta at first. It was Donald Glover's clapping for the wrong reasons. The way he shot that and the way he did that, I thought was very just so I feel like that was so innovative. Him and his cinematographer, director, I really like what they did, and then I would coerce myself into watching like Mr. Robot, and I found myself loving like the cinematography and just the storyline and how you follow this character, in his mind, and essentially that's how I kind of came up with the idea of like the what's more important, like he questions like things, and he's like going through this. It's essentially what the story is a kid fresh out of college and he's trying to navigate himself through adulthood, right? And to do
Right.
that, he constantly asks this one question every time he is presented with difficult decisions or scenarios. What's more important, right? So he's like, so I kind of wanted to play with that throughout the show, right? Have like the little question, like you know what I'm talking about, like
Right. Right.
there's like a break. There's like the questions, and you know, and it's sort of like for the audience members to know that it's sort of like I'm bringing you into this world of like you even asking your own self, understanding where his mind is at. Yeah,
Did you have a particular audience in mind when you created that?
I honestly, I want to say I was really trying to. Okay, the first I really wanted to touch the hearts of Black Americans. Like that was like specifically Haitians. That was number one. And when I say Haitians, I mean I don't know if I should say first generation or second generation, but the Haitians who came here and the Haitians who were born here. I wanted
Right.
to really show this story of a very smart, intelligent kid and how there's this, that Caribbean thing. The parents, they want you to, become the doctor, the
The lawyer,
lawyer,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and it's like this. It's like that American dream aspect where it's like kind of thrusted on you, and it's a standard that you're kind of coerced into living into, where we now have been in America and we realize that the American dream is not that because the times have changed. Obviously, you get a bachelor's degree now; it's not considered
It's nothing.
anything, really. And
Right,
unless you have experience and you have to know people, it's like the trajectory of everything has just completely flipped. And I think um, because of that futility in the American dream, where our parents came here and they adopted that whole like, hey, go to college, get this, get the degree, and boom, boom, boom. I think we kind of live underneath that umbrella of living towards this idea of success and that narrative of success, and while trying to
right,
find and navigate through what we know is not the truth and
right,
finding our own truths. And essentially, that is the whole entire show. That's the whole entire narrative of us. You know,
right,
us, black. First of all, black people. Uh, Secondly, Haitians. Haitians. That's number
right,
one. If we we have to know how to find our success first. It's all about survival with our parents. Like they're like, yo, you need a house, you need this, and all of those things are synonymous to debt, right? So
right, right.
it's
Yeah,
like, well, what do you do? Like, where do you find your happiness? Our parents aren't really about that. They're not about like, oh
right.
yeah, be happy. They're like, no, eat, live,
Work
eat,
until you
survive,
die.
go to church.
Right,
Make sure
right,
you do
right,
all
right,
those things. Your happiness, what is that? So it's like now we've developed this sort of consciousness. Um, as Haitians, we've learned about even having pride in ourselves. Because back then, you are like, there's on the second season, I'm gonna talk about how when Haitians were here during like the early '90s and the '80s, how it was terrible for us.
It was,
Like
yeah,
we
yeah,
would be bashed. We were like there was a lot of prejudice against us. Like we were hated, man. We and for no reason, but for the simple fact that we were Haitian, and people had this perception of us. And the stories
right.
that my mom has told me, my older brothers, everything they've told me, and even what I've experienced myself growing up.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, whoa, no one knows this, really. No one
right,
knows this. Like I don't know how it was like in places like New York and other places where a lot of Haitians were, but I know in Miami, oh man, it was tough. Uh, they had a lot of stuff. They had crack a day. They had find the Haitian, beat them up. All these things, and we had to like survive that. And so now just I think when we crossed over that threshold of like 1999 going into 2000s. I think there was like this pride to be Haitian. It was bigger because now we adopted that same mentality from the 1804 days and was
right,
like, nah, we're gonna fight back, right?
right,
And we're gonna be proud of who we are. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that it took that that era for us to really truly be proud of who we are. And like, and it's sad to say, but a lot of Black Americans at the time, and this is coming from the lens of what I grew up with. they weren't really accepting of us. But when that era came, Zoe Pound and all that stuff, it changed. They began to love us. We were very prideful, and then we took in consideration our a lot of people already. And this is not to denounce people who are already very proud to be Haitian, but then there was like this. I don't want to say diaspora, but there was just like sort of this area of Haitians where it was like they were kind of afraid to really adopt the idea up until the point where it was very like popular to be Haitian. Even
Right.
Black Americans wanted to be Haitian. And so
Mm.
it was a great thing. And because we sort of gained this consciousness, we understood how smart we were. We understood how talented we were, how intelligent we were. Everything. We started crafting our minds to understand, like, oh yeah, we're dope. Like we do a lot of dope stuff. Uh, we've been dope. We've been a part of so many things. And there's so much of our history that's not even discussed. That's why, and what's more important, I mentioned the whole thing about the Haitian finding Chicago. Not too many people knew about that.
Right. Right. Right.
See what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, let me
That was my favorite episode, by the way.
yeah,
That
thank you.
you wrote that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The bus stop scene was my absolute fucking
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. I you know what? That character was based on an actual interaction that I'm telling you, all these things were real
No way.
interaction. That was an actual interaction from a guy from Chicago. From a guy from Chicago. And I had Yeezys on. And he was like, "You got the Yeezys?" So it was so amazing. I was like, yo, I gotta write about this. Because the whole time he was just so fascinated with what I had. And we went down like this rabbit hole of Chicago. And he was just talking. But the beautiful thing about that character was he was so prideful and happy, whereas the main character wasn't. And I think throughout the show, it was trying to show like this juxtaposition of this person who's trying to find his truth, while this person already was like knee deep into like, oh yeah, this is who I am, and
Right.
that was supposed to show that, and I love that. Everyone loves that, so I'm like, yeah, those people, you need them. You need those
Yo,
people.
listen. You got to bring him back, man.
Oh yeah. Shout out to him, man. That's Isaac Beverly.
Yeah.
He plays Wally. Yeah. Everybody who watches episode one, you'll see. It's the bus stop scene. It's
Yo,
great.
you got to bring his character back. Yo, that
Yeah.
guy's and he's very committed to that role, man.
He was very committed. You should have seen him when he came, like the day of. He at first he was just kind of like chilling, and I was like, you can't be that way. You have to go all out. Like you have to be
Right.
like, yo. And he committed to it. He did such a great job. Once he understood what the character was, he was like, oh yeah, I'm going in. And people love it, man. Cause I was like, you gotta bring that energy, bro. You have to. That's what people
Right,
love.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now when it comes to acting, you know, like how do you like your characters to be? Do you is it method acting or what?
I'm very much so. Well, I guess you could say it's method, but I really like when my characters are very natural. I like them to just be, and I've seen everyone who I've cast, I've kind of seen them in that space where they and pardon my eyes because I'm trying to make sure like I'm not messing up like here and like I'm
Yeah,
making
no, you good.
yeah because I don't want people to be like, yo, what's up with this dude, like, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? You know
it's
what I
all
mean?
right.
But I I always make sure that it's just natural, man, 100% natural. I want the reactions to be natural. I want the characters to just be. I don't even want them to act sometimes. And usually when I cast these characters, I really like look at them in normal situations and scenarios and see how far they can take themselves, like how high energy they could take themselves, how low energy they can take themselves, how assertive they can be, how very like reserved they can be. And so when I notice these characteristics, I say, "Oh, let me accentuate that." when we get into it. So I just fine tune what they already have. And once they get on set, I'm like, don't even like these lines are here, but they're really just a guide. I want you to take this and amplify, and that's really what I do. So I try to, as a director, what I do the most is I try to make sure I can not control, but I kind of create this atmosphere. If I don't create the atmosphere, I feel like it's not gonna bring out the best in the acting and in the characters or the individuals. I feel like the individuals aren't going to believe in it. And when I set that atmosphere, when I make them believe, hey, this is who you are, like this person is just another personality of you, but amplified, and that's your character. That's it. Like it's not even where you have to become an entirely new person, but it's sort of like a split personality that's already been inside of you. And what I see personally, and so they're able to bring that out every time they yeah, every time I direct them. So yeah, that's how I do it with the acting. Yeah.
All right, so let's take it back, like your journey. So where did you find the love? Like, when did you realize, hey, you know what, I have a thing for filmmaking?
You know when it was I was in third grade. I was in third grade. The Mummy just came out. That's how old I am. I was in third grade, and The Mummy with Brendan Fraser just came out, and I wanted to see it so bad. And I was with one of my best friends. His name is Johnson, and you know I live in I young living in a Haitian household. They're like, no, you can't go to the movies.
All
You
right, right.
never go to the movies. Never. It's Legley's, Lakai,
Liquor.
Liquor, and that's it,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So I'm like, dang man, I really want to see this movie. My friend, my best friend Johnson, his brother, his older brother, always went to the movies. And so I remember one day in school, I was like, damn, I really want to see that movie. He's like, oh, I'm going to see it this Friday. I'm like, you going to see it, man? He's like, if you want to, you could come. And I'm like, they're never gonna let me go. He's like, all right, I'm gonna let my parents. I'm gonna ask my brother, and then your brother, you ask your parents, and then let them meet and talk to each other. And so we had to do a whole exchange. Like,
Yeah.
I had to tell my parents, oh, talk to him, and then they had to meet each other and shake hands on it, sign a treaty, everything. Like it was ridiculous. And
Yeah.
so, as soon as that all happened, and he was like, "Yeah, you can go." He's like, "Make sure you have him back by like 8. No, not 8. I want to say 9:30 or 10."
Right.
Like, are you serious? So I'm geeked out. I'm like excited to see this joint, just because the trailer just had me like, whoa, like this is dope. And so I I I've never gone to the movies in my life at that point. Never. I just
Mm.
watched them and I was like, all right, this is cool. I was already into movies. Like I always missed Jurassic Park because they used to show it on NBC on Sundays, but we would always
Mm.
go to church on Sundays. So I always missed it. I was hot. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
never got a chance to see Jurassic Park until I was probably 18. So
Wow.
when yeah, man, that's how it was. You know what I'm talking about. That
Yeah.
Asian
Yeah. I know. I
household
know.
don't play. So I'm in third grade. I'm about to go see the Mummy. I'm going with my friend and his brother, his older brother. We go over there, man. We go to the movies, man, and man, we walk up in there, bro. That smell of popcorn and the air. I'm just like, what? Like it to me, you understand? I'm in third grade. I'm 8 years old. I've never been to the theater. I've never really gone anywhere except the three places that are
Yeah.
the Haitian standard. And so I'm like, this is amazing. Like I'm like, boom, just watching everybody, all these kids run around the arcade, everything, the concessions. Like I'm like, what? It was like a whole new world. So I'm just standing there. I'm mad nervous. I'm like, this place is huge, everything. And he's like, you want some popcorn? I'm like, what? I could get that too? Yeah, like I'm geeked out, bro. I'm like
Yeah.
happy as hell. And this is like an experience. I'm like, wow, like, and they're like, yeah, get the ticket. Boom. And it's like, here's your ticket. I'm looking at the ticket. It says the mummy and the smell of pop. Everything is just like, what? Like, it's just magical. Man, we step into the theater. That movie starts, bro. I sit. I'm so into it. I'm like eating up the popcorn and I'm finishing it so fast to the point where at the end of the movie I was chewing on my shirt. That's how much I was like I was just like what? I was watching the film, dude, and my dude, I was blown away. I was so blown away. Like that night I came back home, all I could do is think about that film. All I could do is think about how they did why how did they do all of that? What what was done? Like I was like so fascinated. I had a big crush on Rachel Wise. I was like, damn, she fine. And Brendan Fraser was the man to me. I was like, this dude is dope. I felt like that movie had action, adventure, comedy. It had all these elements like horror, low key, and it just had everything. And I was so blown away and fascinated that night. It just changed everything for me. And I said, dog, I want to be a filmmaker. I want to
Okay,
be a filmmaker,
so
action writer.
that was the genesis.
That was the
Okay,
genesis.
so from that point on, what was the next thing? When's the first time you picked up the camera?
The first time I picked up the camera, is another story. I know it's a lot of stories, but it's another story.
That's what we're here
Uh,
for.
so my a friend of the family's, his name is Donald Fontaine. He was going to college at the time, and he was taking film production, TV production, one of them, and he had to do a thesis film or something like that, um, or like uh, uh, I forget. He had to do a film project. So the school lended him a camera, and he told me, "Hey, I know you're into film and everything. If you want to, you can come over to my crib and help me out a little bit." I was like, "Bet." I go over there. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm 15 now. He's like, I want to say 20, 21. So I go over to his house. I'm already familiar with his family. Like we cool. Everybody's cool. And while we're there, he's like filming, he's doing his thing. And while he's doing his thing, every time it goes on break, I sneak and look at the camera. And I'm like looking at it. And I'm
Yeah.
like low key playing around with it. And this is like one of the back in the day joints, right? This is like still like you had to put the video cassette joint in there like that. It was not a digital joint. So you
Okay.
guys are blessed. Everyone's blessed now. But it was like boom, popped it in. I'm recording, playing back, doing all that stuff, playing around with it. Every time he hops back in, I'm like, I go back to my corner, just to whatever. And we did this for 3 days, and so I think it was the third day of the set, and I saw his movie. I was looking at his movie, and I was like, dang man, I have something. I want to do it. So I asked him like during a long lunch. I said, "Hey, can I borrow the camera real quick? I swear it'll be real fast." And he's like, "What you gonna do?" I said, well, "I'm just gonna go around shoot some stuff, and I'm gonna have my own tape, everything." So I went and bought a tape right on the spot. Came back, and he was like, "All right, sure, just don't record on my tape." I'm like, "Cool." Boom, pop my little joint in. I snatched my little brother, his little brother, and their cousin. And just on the spot, I was like, all right, you and you bump into each other. You're gonna have a picture of a girl in your backpack, and then he's gonna take it. He's gonna think you stealing his girl. I'm just coming up with stuff impromptu, and I just start filming. Go, boom, 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 boom. I do all this, and as I'm doing it, I'm like picturing every single like shot and take in my mind and them acting. And I cut it up, and I'm like, cool, I have it. Well, I don't edit it yet. So I take the tape, boom, I got all the clips, boom. He gets his camera back, and he goes off and does this thing. We end that production. I go back home and I got the little tape. So I'm this is back in the day when Haitians used to have the VCRs. You couldn't, and they had a whole bunch of tapes like recorded church sermons and
Right.
everything like that. So I,
Yeah.
I did the mistake of recording over one of the church sermons. I got in big trouble for that. But I wanted to make the movie so bad. So I got the little tape, and while I had the little tape, because we had like that VCR, that very like you could put the little tape in, the big joint, everything. It was like
Right.
we thought at the time it was like yo technology, and now it's like obsolete. So we put I put the big tape in, the little tape in, and every time I would play the little tape, I would record on the big tape and cut, and that's how we used to edit back in the day. That's how we used
Wow.
to have to do it. So I was doing that. I would spend hours just doing that. I finally finished it, and I was so excited. I was like, I gotta show people. I started showing my little brother, my friends, and everybody was like, yo, that's good. Like they're laughing, they're enjoying it. And I just remember I was like, what? They like this? And it was making me happy because I like it, but just to see other people's reaction, I'm like, yo, that's dope. And then the guy, the Donald, the person who let me borrow the camera, the one who was doing the film, the project, he goes and he shows me his film, and then I play my film, and he tells me, "Whoa, that was better than mine." Wow. He's like, "Yo, can I show my class this?" And I'm like, yeah, for sure. And he shows his college course, his college class, the video that I did. And that made me at that point say, oh man, I got to do this. Like, I really got to do this. So, yeah, that's the story of when I first picked up the camera. That was the first time I've ever picked up a camera. First time.
Do you still have that?
Do I still have the video? I have to go back to my old home and check. I don't know if my mom probably threw it away. She probably threw it away or recorded a church session over it or something. It was such a classic video, man. It was so cool. I would have to go way, like, I'd have to dig in the crates, man. I'd have to go all the way back. But if you ask any of my friends, my old friends, they'll tell you, like, yeah, I remember. I remember that. Yeah, yeah. But that was the first time. 15, man. I think that was like 2003, 2002, either 2002 or 2003. It was a while ago, man.
Analog, right? That's crazy.
Yeah, analog. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Not
Wow.
digital at all. Oh my gosh. When digital came out, I was like, whew. Yeah. But yeah.
So when digital came out, what did you do?
Okay, when digital came out, I quickly hopped on it was my boy Brian. He had well first I got digital when I went to Best Buy and I just picked up a Sony CyberShot. Like quick. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just get this joint. And I was editing on like Movie Maker, like Windows Movie Maker and everything. That's back when I used to do like small little skits and stuff like that. I wasn't going into film heavy yet, but I that's the first time I got like a digital camera was a Sony CyberShot. And then I met my boy Brian and he was shooting like little skateboard videos with his homeboys, and he would shoot with the Canon. So he would shoot with the Canon 5D and those cameras. And I was like, yo, I gotta have that. So he put me up on game, and that's when I got into the whole spiel, like the interchangeable lenses. I started learning about every camera, the Sony, the Red, everything. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna just learn all this, and that's how that ended up becoming like this now. Like I when that happened, I just did not look back. I just kept going and going. I was like, let me learn as much as I can. Let me learn as much as I can because I didn't have the money to really go to film school. Um, I didn't go to film school. I never went to film school, and I even though I tried to get into what is it, FSU for film, and then it wasn't. They didn't have no room for me. So I was like, okay, let me figure something out. What I did was my boy Joe Turman. I have to give a shout out to him. I remember when me and Joe Turman we used to like rap, and we used to come up with like these very interesting concepts for the videos. And when we would come up with the concepts, he was very much so into films, into like No Country for Old Men, you know, like a lot of Coen brother films. And he got me into it a lot, like the writing and everything. And he would tell me about like books that he would check out on screenwriting, screenplays, and everything. And I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. And so when I saw him doing it, he was already gifted with his writing. He knew I wrote. He knew I wrote. He knew I wrote poems and I would write little stories. So he's like, "Oh, you should pick up these books, man." And so what I did was I knew I couldn't go to school, and so I just said, all right, let me just pick up these books from the library, learn how to screenwrite, screenplay. I learned so much, dude. Like I would constantly go back, back and forth from my house to the library, learning every single thing. I would check out every book on film, period. And
Yeah.
that was the birth of everything. That was like the all right, let me teach myself. At that point, I wanted to be like Nas. Like when he dropped out at what was it, like 14 or something? And
Yeah.
he just started reading and like teaching himself. That's what I wanted to do. Because I was like, I know I'm not gonna go to film school. I'm not gonna have like the funds or anything. So let me utilize all the resources I have around me right now. And that was reading text on every single aspect of film and doing the editing and the shooting and all that by myself. However, I could get the funds, however, I could get the resources, and hitting up other filmmakers that I was slowly growing like this big network of. And I would connect with all of them, and I was like, hey, I'll come through, I'll help out with whatever you need. And I was learning every single aspect every day. And that's I told you a lot, but once I went digital, that's what happened. That changed everything.
So now you've gone digital. You got the Canon 5D.
Yeah.
You've learned about the Sony Red and all these cameras. You read up on screenwriting, screenplays, and everything.
Yep.
Now you've attained all this knowledge. What's the first project that the new and improved Frantzy develops?
Oh man, there was a project called If Love Lost. Ill. It was called Ill. If Love Lost. I wrote. It was a short film. Um, the reason why I'm like kind of like yo, because that film was very dark, and I wanted it to be dark because I wanted people to take me seriously. So I didn't because before then I would just make skits, comedy and everything like that, and so I was like, in order for me to be like taken seriously as a filmmaker, I gotta make the story very serious, like very heavy, and it ended up being very heavy. It was about a girl. It was about a guy and a girl who grew up together, but then the guy had to move away because his parents got killed. He had to live with his cousin, who became a drug addict. And the girl, while he was away, the girl ended up getting raped, and she got AIDS. And they met each other when they grew up. And she said that she was getting well, she was pregnant by one of the you know, and she wanted him to be the father of the baby, and he had to make a choice. the decision whether or not he would want to or not want to. And that was the movie. It was heavy. It was heavy. I was like, I wanted to at the time. I wanted to do a piece about awareness, so I wanted to do something on AIDS, right? That was my thing, because a lot of my films, I love for them to have messages. I'm big on that. I was big on that then. I'm very big on that now. But that was the idea, and when I did it, I just didn't know how dark I was gonna go. It was very dark. I was like, oh man, yo, I wrote this. And so it was, and the movie was actually, other people's words. They really enjoyed it and everything like that. But yeah, that was my very first film. I dropped it. I did that in 2010, and I dropped it 2011, and I played it at a local theater in Homestead in 2011. It starred an actor, a friend of mine. His name is JJ Henry, and he was great in it. He was the one who played the addict, and yeah, it was an experience, man. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed it a whole lot. But it was my first time actually doing a film that I was like serious about and dedicated about. And from there, I was just like, I want to be everything I do. I want it to be better than the last, and that was the beginning. But I don't have that film anymore. I had it on Vimeo, and I would watch it, and then I accidentally deleted it. I know people are gonna be like, "How'd you accidentally delete it?" I swear, like I was on there, and I was just trying to update my profile, and for some reason, while I'm editing, I'm trying to like, you know what? Let me update the synopsis. I'm updating, and then I'm like, all right, click, and it just deletes. I'm like, no, because I don't have any. I don't know anywhere else. I didn't keep it anywhere else. I didn't keep it anywhere else except for Vimeo. I don't have. There's my friends. Like I would again. That's another thing. I would have to go back to my old home and dig in the crates and look for it. Because I remember we made like DVD copies. Look at that, DVDs,
Yeah, obsolete.
DVDs. Wow. So
Yeah.
I made DVD copies, and I'll have to look for that. But that's how long ago that was. Yeah, man. Yeah, that was the first thing. I don't have that. The only thing I have that I've done like way, way back, the very first thing I've done before I even shot that film, because that was my first ever movie, is on YouTube. It's called Concrete Creatures. Yeah, I don't even want to show anyone that one.
Oh
This is my
man.
very first beginning, first time ever touching. That was my Sony Cybershot. I shot
Okay.
that on the Sony Cybershot. That was way back then. That was like 2000. I shot that 2008. I played it on YouTube 2009. This was back when YouTube was starting. And yeah. So yeah,
But
bro.
please tell me you back up everything now. You got a hard
I back up
drive or
everything now. Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah,
Because of that, heck yeah. Like I I really I was so disappointed because I'm like, there's so many things I wanted to show people. Like, yo, y'all don't know. Like, I had to start off with this, and I'm
this
like,
this
damn, I
this,
can't
this,
really.
this there's something I like about you because I was watching one of your episodes of I think it was the gun episode.
Yeah.
And I guess during the editing process with the audio there was a little
Oh
imperfection,
yeah.
right? And
Yep.
you had the captions. And then I saw that you re-uploaded it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
caught that. I was like,
Yeah.
yo, because I got a notification and I was like, no, I already saw this. So I was like, let me watch this again. And I was like, yo, he fixed that. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I fixed it because the original, and you saw what was the original. Like there was an
Right,
opening. There was an opening that I couldn't do, but for the one that was uploaded before because the audio was just so bad.
right.
And I made a promise to myself, like, yo, I'm gonna revamp these if I once I get the right equipment, once I get everyone again, and we could, even if we have to do ADR, I don't care. I want people to know what was said, what this episode truly was, and
Mm,
I was like, yo, as soon as I get a chance, I'm revamping it because I want people to see what really everything. I want people to see every single thing. So
right.
thank you. Yeah, I'm very big on that now. Like if I could, I would revamp everything. If I really could, I really would, man. But
No,
I'm
but you know what it is. It's like you have to be grateful of those imperfections, right? Because
yeah,
over time, you get to look back and be like, damn, like wow, I've come a long way. So
yeah,
you get to appreciate the journey.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah,
right, man.
I appreciate the entire thing. I'm sorry if I spoke a lot, by the way, man.
No, man,
You know,
listen,
man,
this is a
I just want
podcast. You
to tell
talk,
you,
man.
yeah, yeah. I just want to tell you these stories, bro. You know, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. So now, what's your first foray into like the film festival world?
Okay. So I right after I did ill, I was like, oh, let me just go for the shooting a feature, which was a big like feat. Like I took that on and I was like, man, this is way crazier than I expected. And I did a film called 5417, and it's based on the Bible verse, the Isaiah 54:17. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, which is crazy because like the person that inspired that verse for me is such a weird person to get inspired from. And I know at this point you're like, now you gotta tell me who inspired it. But I,
Yeah,
dude, this is so weird for me to say this, but and I don't, and I know people can be like, what? One day I was watching 106 in Park. Oh my gosh, that you know how old that show is. I was watching
right.
106, and Nicki Minaj was on there, and yes, Nicki Minaj was on there, and she said that verse, and I was like, oh, I like that verse so much. I can't believe Nicki Minaj is inspiring me to go into the Bible right now and
Yeah,
read that verse thoroughly, like for real, for real. And so after I heard her say that, I I, I went to the Bible and I just read that whole entire chapter, like the Isaiah chapter, and I really wanted to know the context of that verse and that whole thing. And when I did, I was like, wow, man, I really like that. And I this story is so powerful. And I said, okay, 5417. That's what I'm gonna call this. And the film is about a gunsmith who he kind of ends up finding out that he's like this he's like this bearer of death because he creates the guns, the weapons. It's a young black man. He's a gunsmith, and his mom is telling him, "Hey, you should probably pick another profession because don't you want to do right by people? Don't you feel like you're a bringer of death by doing this? You're like the middleman." And he's like, "No, I need this. We need money, And you remember, like, my dad used to be a gunsmith, so it's like an honorable thing for me to be in this job. Like, I feel like I have a purpose here." And when he goes through, like, when he goes to like craft this weapon, like a television screen pops up, and he's like seeing all these like stories where at the end of the story, these kids get murdered, and he realizes everyone who's gotten murdered has been a gun that he's crafted, a gun that he's wielded, and he uh, he suddenly stops, and when he stops, he realizes that when he stops, all the weapons disappear, and he realizes his power. So it's almost like a superhero origin story, kind of, and that's when I wanted to add like a sci-fi aspect to it. But yeah, it's. I mean, it dives into like the whole Trayvon Martin, you know, the Sandy Hook, the the black people getting killed by the cops, like all that is sort of like the stories. And he realizes like, oh snap, I made all these guns, and yeah. So that's the movie. That was the feature. And
Okay.
that's when I first started getting into festivals. I was like, all right, let me submit this into festivals. That's when Without a Box was popping. Wasn't even Film Freeway at that point. Um, and I would submit to like Miami Film Festival and like all these festivals. And I got denied so many times, so many times.
Yeah.
But I got accepted into International Black Film Festival, which was in Tennessee. And it was cool, man. Like we went over there. I never thought I would enjoy Tennessee, but I when we went there the first time, I was like, wow, this place is
Was this
dope.
Memphis or Nashville?
This was Nashville.
Okay.
It was Nashville. So, yep, country. Yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Uh, so we were there. It was cool, man. It was cool, man. Listen, what there's stories about that too. Like when we got accepted to International Black Film Festival, and we went to another one, I believe. I'm not sure, but when we went there, dude, we didn't have nowhere to stay, and we were looking for like hotels to stay at. Although we were still going to like the events, man, we every night we thought we were gonna die. Like somebody was gonna rob us, kill us, do something every night because we would go to the most shady motels. I'm talking about we. There would be like people like like shooting up.
Oh
They'd
man.
be looking at us like, "Do I know you?" I'm like, "Oh," like something like that. So it's like we're like bugged out. Like, oh man, we gotta figure out how to survive these next 4 days, like for this whole entire festival. That in itself was a whole movie, but that's the first time I experienced festivals, film festivals, ever. That's the first
Okay.
time I really got into that whole world of the festivals. And I don't know who I was told by, but they were like, "Yo, you got to submit this to festivals. You have to." And 5417 also stars Jo Marie Payton. For people who don't know who that is, that's Harriet Winslow from Family
Right.
Matters, or the grandma from
How
Proud
how
Family.
did how did you get her into the project?
Oh man, that's another story. There's so many
Yeah.
stories.
Yes.
There
So you
was
have Harriet Winslow. Harriet Winslow
Harriet Winslow.
plays in your feature.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I just so people know, the feature, I that feature was done between 2000 either 12 or 13 to 2014. 2000 either 12 or 2013 to 2014, and we started we it was in post production for at least a good year, and then we started dropping it out in 2016, and in 2017, between 2017 and 2018, I broke up the feature into episodes, so it's a
Oh, no,
series
no.
now.
How did you get in touch? How did you get? Well, whose idea was it to put her
I'm
in
gonna
there?
tell you that right now.
Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah. All right. So the way that I got in touch with Harriet Winslow,
Yeah.
Jo Marie Payton,
Hmm.
I okay. So one day my older brother comes to the crib and he's like, "Yo, there's this like convention for like people in media. Like it's gonna be big. Like it's in Overtown. Like you should come through." So I'm like, "All right, cool." I wasn't gonna go at first, but he was like, "Just come." Nobody had a car back at that time, and it was this was like what 20. I think this was 2012. I didn't have a car.
Mm.
It was riding the bus. We go over there, man, and we go into the convention, and where everybody's chilling. It's like packed. The room is packed, packed, packed. And I just remember I was just beginning 5417. Like I was like probably I want to say 65% done with the film as far as production. 65 or 55, one of them. And so we walk into this convention, and when we go in there, there's like the I forget this dude's name, but he was on the Jamie Foxx show, and he's like a producer guy. I completely forget his name. I don't if I'm probably gonna remember it after this whole thing, but he
Yeah.
just know like he's very big like in the producer world. He produced Real Husbands of Hollywood on
Mm.
BT. He's very big. But he was on the Jamie Foxx show, and he's there, and they're doing like a Q&A with him, and it's just a bunch of people in the crowd. I'm talking. Plus Pierre was there. If you guys don't know who Plus is, he
Right.
used to do the yeah, he was there. That's the first time I met him in person. Melonius Hatcher was there. It was just mad people. So we're all there chilling, right? Hanging out. And all I know is there was one instance where I rose my hand, and he calls out to me, and he's like, "Hey man!" And this time I had a shortcut, like everything, right? He's like, "Yo, you look like Dougie Fresh." And so everyone's like, "Yo," I'm like, "What?" And so everyone laughs. It's like a very memorable moment.
Yeah.
I'm like loving it. I'm like, yo, this man. And he's like, yeah, yeah. And then I ask my question, he answers, and we're good, right? And then something happens where he's like I think like maybe 20 minutes go by, and he's like, oh, wait a minute, is that Jo Marie Payton in the audience? And she's like, it's me, baby. She has the raspy voice. She's like,
Yeah.
yeah, yes, it's me. Man, everyone turns into a groupie so fast because she was trying to be incognito, right? And Michael Jackson was like, no, like that, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, that's her. Everyone turned into a groupie. Everybody at that point was fanboying, like, ah! Like it's Harriet Winslow. And I think at that point, it everything just stopped. Like there were like everyone just was so focused on her, and they stopped. They stopped paying attention to the guy. It's like, all right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. So she walks down, and when I say like she literally had like everyone just like create a huge circle around her, just a herd of people. Everybody's there, and everyone's talking to her one by one. They're trying to get her autograph, everything. It's like big for us. It's big for everybody because all of us are '80s kids, '90s kids. We grew up on Family Matters. Like, oh man, and I just remember I was in a line, and I was like, damn, I really want to talk to her. And this lady caught me say that. She goes, "You want to talk to her?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, follow me, stop being scared." And so she grabs my hand, and I'm waiting behind like five people, and they're just talking to her, talking to her, talking to her. And as she's like about to talk to me, and she's like, "All right, guys, I gotta go," and she's about to leave, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna miss my chance completely." And then I'm like, "Wait, I'm Dougie Fresh. I'm Dougie Fresh." And she's like, "Oh yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, it's me." She goes, "Oh, you know what? Here's my card, baby." Boom, just like that. And then she just disappears and vanishes. And I'm like, no, I didn't get a chance to talk to her. I'm like, at this point, I'm thinking, this ain't never gonna work. Like me having a card, she's probably never gonna pick up my number. Man, that I was defeated. We went back, even though I was like, yo, I was happy we was all there. Oh, another person who was there was Edson Jean. I don't know if you know Edson, but he was
It's
there
insane.
too. He was in that whole circle of people.
Okay.
He's a Haitian-American filmmaker. He's dope too. We all went home that day. I saw that card, man, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna call this number. I'm just keep calling and calling and calling and calling and calling. And that's exactly what I did. For the next 3 months, I berated that phone. I said, Miss Winslow, can you Jo Marie Payton, I just want to talk to you. I would email her. I would do all that. While filming, I was just constantly on it. And this was November, I think. So I think it's like February now. And I'm like giving up hope. I'm like, dang, man, let me call her one more time. This is 3 months now. This is like the fourth month. I'm like, oh, man, let me just. So one day, I think I'm asleep. Because my brother used to be on the phone at that time. This was the house phone now. This is the house phone.
Yeah.
This is
Oh,
it's
wow.
like 2013.
Yeah.
You know, I had my cell phone, but she never like I would call always. I would call the house through my house phone, through the cell phone, everything. So I think I think she called my home once, and you know my mom talks on the telephone all the time. So my mom and I wanted I wanted Jo Marie to play my mom in the film. So she calls up. She goes, "Oh, can I speak to Francie?" And my mom's like, Kimunsa, so, I'm sorry. Oh, I must have called the wrong thing. Just like that. My brother, he looks at the caller ID because he's my older brother. He's crazy like that. He's always talking to
Right.
chicks on the phone. So he's always checking the caller ID. He's always on some player stuff. He's like,
Mm.
what's this number? He calls it, and she goes, "Hello." And he's like, "Hi, can I ask you who I'm speaking to?" She's like, "Oh, this is Jo Marie Payton." He's like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, I wanted to call because I wanted to talk to Francie." He's like, "Oh, I'll let him know." I was not even there that day.
Right.
So I come back home. And he's like, "Yo," this is like a day after. He's like, "Oh, Jo Marie Payton called you." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, man." It's like, "Call her back. Call her back." I'm like, "Yo, really?" Da-da-da. I call her. I call her. I call her. Nothing. I think it was 5 days after that. She calls my phone, my cell phone. I'm looking at it like, is this a joke? Turn it on, and I hear her voice. I'm like, I feel like I'm watching the show. And she's like, "Hey, baby." And I'm like, "Oh, snap." So I'm
Yeah.
like, "Hey, what? How are you doing?" Like, I'm geeked out. And she's like, "I'm a very busy woman. You have 1 minute to tell me exactly what it is that you want to tell me." Man, I said, if there was no listen, if there was any time that I was prepared, it was that moment. I said everything so fast, so clear, so poignant, where I was like, even I was impressed. I was like, dang, that was good. She had to
Right.
do it, right? I'm like, this film, it's a film about faith. God, it's 54:17. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. You're gonna say that line. You're a monumental character. You playing the mom. You're the mother of all of us. You're a black woman. You're the one who protects us. You're the one who do this. You end up saving the day. Da da da. Boom 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 boom. This is what the story's about. Trayvon Martin. Da da boom boom boom. Telling them. The phone stays silent for like a good 5 seconds. Oh my gosh. 5 seconds with no talking. I'm like, she's gonna hang up the
She's
phone.
taking
Like there's no
everything in
way.
at this time. Yeah.
I'm thinking, yeah. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, it's not gonna work. This is a wrap. Like it's done. And she goes, "Honey, I think we were meant to meet each other."
Mm.
And then when she said that, I was just like, what? Then she goes on to say, "I love this story. I think it's dope. It's beautiful. It's powerful. I want to do this." And she goes, "I'm gonna hook you up with my It's my SAG lady." And she
Mm.
goes, "Make this film SAG, and I will be in your film." bruh.
So
I
did you even have your SAG card before that?
no, no.
So
After that call,
this is how you attain that.
that's how I attained it. When she said that, I was like, oh, heck yeah. I went to them SAG offices so fast. I signed every form. You know, SAG forms are like the Bible. You need to read everything. I said,
Yeah.
man, let me. I did everything, all my research. I paid anything I had to pay off. I said, man, I need you in this. I do not care. When she, we did everything. We signed off all the papers, everything. When she came that day to film, I gave her the a red carpet like special treatment. Man, I brought my sisters over there to cook her some griot. I brought a makeup person to be there for her.
Mhm.
I hooked her. I was like, you getting treated special today. Like everything. I was like, if you ever want to come down for Thanksgiving, just come. Like we'll feed you. That's how it was. And she loved it. She loved the entire experience. And it was from that day that we became not only like did she know me as an actor and filmmaker and everything, but then we became so close to where my sister, or sometimes she'll just call me up. She'll be like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I'm like, "What? Why are you doing this? Like, do
Yeah.
you know who you are?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to call me. I'm
Right.
supposed to call you." So she's just a first first and foremost, she is a very wonderful human being. Like one of the nicest people, kindest people you'll ever
Is
meet.
she from Miami?
So I think she I don't know if she's from Miami, but she had a home in Coral Gables, I think when she remarried, and she ended
Yeah.
up like adopting this place as her own. I think she
I
used to.
remember, quick
Yeah.
story, not to cut you off.
No, I'm not. I've been talking this whole
I
time.
remember
I'll let
going to
you go.
Miami. I went to Miami, I think this is '07. I think it was '07, 2007. And it was '07 because Rick Ross's Hustling came out that time. So I go
Okay.
out there. I think we went out there for like a family reunion. So uh hold on, I'm getting lost in the story here. One more. uh hold on. What was your last point?
My last point was she she remarried. I think she
Coral
lived in
Gables.
Gables.
Coral
Yeah.
Gables. Let's take it back. So I don't know. I'm driving through everywhere. I'm driving through Fort Lauderdale, going to Miramar, Miami Gardens, and for some reason I went to Coral Gables, and I fell
Yeah.
in love with Coral Gables, man.
Yeah.
I
It's
fell
a
in love
great.
with Coral Gables.
Yeah.
I said, man, when I get my money, like my dream house is probably going to be in Coral Gables.
Yeah. Oh
You know?
yeah. Coral Gables is so nice, man. Me and my girl have been talking about that for a long time now. Coral
Mm-hmm.
Gables, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We get a spot, we get in there at the Gables. That's
Yeah,
a nice
yeah, yeah,
area. That's
yeah.
that's such a beautiful area. But yeah, I think she started living there, man. She started living there. I think she was raised a little bit in Overtown. I'm not sure.
Okay.
We if if we check out like her history, there's some point where she was living in Miami, and
But she's basically family now.
yeah, pretty much. She don't even have to listen. I told her you don't got to act for me anymore. Like
Right.
just for the simple fact that you did that. Like at that moment, I was a no name. I wasn't anybody, and she just believed in the story so much, and I was like, wow, man. She came to the premiere. I had a premiere at AMC. She came through. She was just amazing, man. She was so good. Like she gave me money to help like submit it in festivals. Like that's when I'm telling you, man, she's a very amazing person. Like when she believes in somebody, she believes in them, and she really
What's the best piece of advice or best pieces of advice you got from her?
best piece of advice.
Yeah.
Dang, that's a
Could be
good
life
one.
advice, could be professional.
I think you know what it is. I think it was the best advice I got from her. I think was when I was. I think it was just her actions. Like when I was performing with her,
Mm,
she's such a seasoned actress. Like when I performed with her, it's like she couldn't make a mistake. Like even when it seemed like she made a mistake, she didn't make a mistake. Like
mm,
she was so perfect. And I think the number one thing I learned from her, like for real, was that you have to enjoy what you're doing. Like whenever she came, she didn't make it feel like work. She was always like she would tell us stories. She'd be like, "Hey, how y'all doing?" Like, boom, like she'd always make the atmosphere very home, just wholesome and just like a home, like an atmosphere. And she was like, "I really enjoy what I do. Like, I enjoy this. I enjoy this world." And that's the one thing I took from her every time. Whenever we had to redo scenes, she would redo them. She wouldn't complain. She wasn't like a diva at all. She was. I would just be like, "Is everything okay?" She's like, "What? I'm having a blast." And I think that reshaped my entire mentality because I was afraid when she was coming on set. I was like, "Oh no, she's gonna be, she's this big time. Like I don't know, like maybe I'm gonna mess up. Maybe I'm gonna be, because I was new relatively. It was my first feature. I was like, damn, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, what if I'm missing some equipment and I have to go take a run and do this and do that? Like, what's gonna happen? Like, is she gonna think I'm not good enough? Everything? No, dude. The whole time she was there, she was like rooting me on. She was just I don't know, man. She was so supportive, and she really enjoyed everything. And I think I'd say the one thing I learned from her is that no matter what in this industry, just be very genuine, and remain you. I don't think she ever changed who she really was deep down. I think deep down she's always been just this amazing woman, even though they tried her on Family Matters, tried to replace her with this
right,
other lady. I think it's because she was getting. Oh yeah, I heard that she was getting paid less. They were giving her less screen time, and she told herself that she wanted to quantify her worth. She actually wanted to be worthy of wherever she was. She didn't want to get roped out, and she said, "I love them. I love what they represent." She's like, "I love the time that I was there, but I feel like they were." They were degrading the value that I knew that I could bring. And she obviously wasn't going to let that happen. So she she ended up moving on, and it worked out great for her. She ended up doing Proud Family and a
mm,
bunch of stuff. Like
right,
so, she's a staple. Everybody knows Harriet Winslow. So when I she's never told me advice directly, but she's always been just very encouraging. She's always just been like, stay strong, stay young, and stay. She was like, just keep going and stay true to who you are. Like, don't ever change that. And I think maybe that's the advice that I got from her. But it's a culmination of that. Like every time she spoke to me, she's like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so this. It's like deep down, I think she just wants me to stay as genuine as possible, true to who I am, and have fun doing it. Have fun doing it. Like don't do this. I think she was deep down telling me like don't do this and not enjoy it. Like if you don't enjoy it, then you're missing the point. Like you're missing the whole mission. It's not to just get awards, get trophies, and get this. Like truly love what you're doing and what you're doing it for, the purpose of what you're doing it for. So I think that was the lesson that I learned from her uh, through like tidbits of advice and encouragement and just watching her, you know. because her advice was very like, it's general, like, keep your head up, stuff like that. But deep down, I feel like that's what she was truly telling me, and just watching her, and she
Mm.
would tell me that stuff. She would tell me like, stay strong, stay true to who you are, don't ever change that for nobody. And I mean, obviously, we know that because she was like, "Yo, I ain't about to let these people take my money."
Integrity, integrity. Yeah, integrity. I like that. I love that. What's your favorite part of the process? Is it writing? Is it is it acting? Is it directing? What's your favorite part of the creative process?
Dang, man. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy all of it. I will say this: I recently enjoy. People gonna be like, "What?" I really enjoy editing, man.
Mm.
I know that's like the least favorite process of every. Everyone's like, "Why would you?" You know why? Because I like to. It just maybe comes from my knack for like wanting to put things together or build. Like when I was younger, my mom was always like, "Oh, you're gonna be a carpenter." I was like, "No, I'm not." I would always put stuff together.
Yeah.
I would always like build up desks for them and the TV. Obviously, Haitian parents, they're not really tech savvy, so they're like,
Right. Right. Right.
"Son, can you come and do this for me? Because I don't know." So I actually enjoyed it. I actually liked putting things together, and they knew it, so they took a lot of advantage of that. And and I think when I draft up the script, I obviously I enjoy every aspect, but I think when I put together everything, when I see the culmination of like the music that I wanted, the music that I kept thinking about when I was writing, when I see the acting, when I see everything that I like, it's like you're putting together like a like yeah, it's like a recipe that you're putting together to create this beautiful dish. It's like when I'm finishing that dish, it's like I'm seeing it come to fruition. Like I'm finally seeing it finalized. And for some reason, that just makes me like it just gives me like the chills. Like I'm like, oh, like
Do you have OCD when it comes to editing?
I'll say this. I'm very when it comes to editing, I'm not too much of a perfectionist, but I am that type of person who's like I watch it and then I'll be like, I like this. And then like 2 days, maybe 2 weeks later, I watch it again. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take that part out. Let me go back. So that might be me because I think in this film thing, man, I think you just constantly progress. It's like with this podcast. I'm sure you're gonna be thinking of new ways to do it, thinking of, oh, you know what, I could probably do this, do that. I think when it comes to filming or just anything, editing, you always want to hone your craft. You always want to like figure out better ways that you can do stuff. So I think when it comes to editing, I like to. I'm not a perfectionist. If my OCD is anything, it's more like, oh, I could make that better. That would be my OCD. But I don't like to be a progress in the dark type person, if that makes any sense. If I see something now and I like what I did, I'll put it out. But then I'll be like, no, I want to change that, and I'll take it out, and people probably be like, what did you do? And
Right.
I'm like, no, I want to make it better. I think there's always room for improvement, and I think that might be my OCD because
Yeah,
I'm
sort of,
always like,
sort of like what you did in that episode, the gun episode.
exactly,
Right, right.
exactly. Yup. So my thing is always like I can make stuff better. Like when I did 5417 when the feature, I said, "Oh, let me break this up into episodes." And when I broke it up into episodes, it was more digestible for people. So they ended up enjoying it even more. And so did I. I was like, "Damn, as episodes, this is really you can take it in very well, like everything you can take in like piece by piece. And so that's kind of like my style. I really enjoy trying to always like better what I may have done before into something greater. Um, but I do like crafting things. I like to craft them, and I always learn from that stuff. I always, based on like what I did with 5417, what's more important, everything. It's taught me now to step into when I step into these next projects, what I can prepare to do now. And it doesn't have to be like, and I don't have to fix the mistakes in front of people, even though I don't mind it. You know why? Because I want people to see that. I want people to see how in this in my journey of film, like you're
Mm.
walking with me, like
Right.
you are with me in this journey. I don't need you to be like, oh no, like we no, we don't want to see the mistakes, we don't want to see. No, look at them, because that's what it's about. No one is just good.
Right.
Like you have to work at being good. You have
Right.
to work at being incredible. You have to practice and practice and practice. And oftentimes, no one ever is going to post their practices. No one's going to be like, hey, look at my practice. Or like, hey, look, I made a mistake. But me, I want to change that. I'm going to be like, no, you're going to see it. You're going to see it, and then you're going to see my progression as
Mm.
I see my progression. And I think that's the best way for people to understand when like the people who are great, like when I think about Jordan, all these people, I'm like, yo, they had to practice a lot. Then no one ever saw that. No one ever seen those parts. They never seen the struggle. And I'm like, nah, you could see it with me, because the next person who's coming, I want them to see that progression. Like, yo, they was like that. So it can internalize in you that, yeah, look at what I came from, look at what I did, and look at the mistakes. I have a whole thing where people could see my edits of where it came from, like the first steps to the fruition, and you could see everything. And yeah, and and now like I back up things now for that reason, for that very reason, because I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of want people to see things now. I want them to see, and like that, it makes me feel bad that I don't have those videos in the past, because I do want people to see that. I want people to see like how it started. This is what I was doing, and
Now,
here.
we're going to get into your upcoming projects, but um, who, because this is Black Man Renaissance, who are your favorite black male directors, actors, creators?
Okay, well, first up, Donald Glover, obviously. Um, I really like I well I do I really enjoy Spike Lee's creativity a lot. I do. Um, One of my favorite directors is Antoine Fuqua. I think he's great. He did Training Day, and
Right.
for those who aren't familiar, um, you know, uh, Assault at 13th Precinct. He's dope. He's dope. Him, the I forget this guy's name. He has a very funky name, but he did Dope, and he did The Wood. I think he's an amazing director. He's so dope. Um, I really enjoy John Singleton. I'm really enjoying Snowfall, by the way. Shout out to that
Yeah,
show.
incredible show. Yeah.
Incredible show. In fact, shout out to um, what's his name? I know his sister's name. His sister's name is Raquel B. John. He plays Leon. He's dope.
Okay.
Isaiah
Yeah.
John. Shout out to Isaiah John. He's incredible. He's
He was
dope.
just
Obviously,
he was just in the
the finale. Don't tell me what happened. I
no,
haven't
no, no,
seen it.
no, no, no. He also played in the movie.
Oh, All Day and Night.
No, Fred
I
Hampton.
think
Yeah,
what was
the
it?
Fred Hampton movie,
Fred Hampton movie. He was
the
in
Black
that?
Messiah, the Black Messiah.
He was in that. That's
He was in
yo.
that. Yeah, yeah.
That's dope. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's so dope. He's an incredible actor. Him, obviously Idris, um, and like
He's
those
phenomenal.
guys,
He's phenomenal.
so dope. Like he has the accent down to a T. Like he's great. Um, so
Well,
like
see, you know what? Not to cut you off, but
yeah.
what do you think about the hoopla about, you know, British actors playing American characters? What's the big, what's your take on that?
Um, I don't know, man. I don't want to. This is I know somebody's gonna find this audio and be like, "Oh, you see, look at him. He's for them. He's for them." But I'm such a lover of cinema that I was watching like black British films. Like I would watch like Bullet Boy, Adulthood,
Yeah, adulthood.
Top Boy.
Mm.
Those film I was watching that before it was popular here, and so when I would see like Ashley Walters, I would see Bashy, who's Ashley Thomas.
Bashi's Ashley Thomas. He's great,
He's
phenomenal. He
great.
was just
He's
in
in them.
them. Yeah, yeah,
He's in them. And a lot of people didn't know about him. And I was like, yo, he's been doing it. Like,
yeah.
he's dope. He's always been dope. Um, Ashley Thomas, obviously, come on, man. Daniel Kaluuya. Dude, come on. He who played Fred Hampton.
Right.
He's always been dope. Even before Get Out. I was watching him on in Black Mirror, Skins. No, he wrote for Skins. Michaela Cole is another one. She's always been dope.
Yeah, she's dope. Yeah.
Um, and these characters, these characters, these people, British, Black British, they come and they're very gifted at what they do. Idris Elba, another person, and he's the person who plays opposite Idris Elba in The Wire. Wood Harris said it best.
Right.
They asked Wood Harris, "Why do you think uh, British actors, young black British actors, when they come, they're so good at what they do. They know how to do the American accent. They're just dope." He goes, "There's an inferiority complex with Americans. That's why." And they're like, "Break it down." He goes, "When you think about black British, they're so close to Africa and the motherland that their identity issues are scarce because they know what they are. They understand their superiority. They understand their royalty. They understand their culture. It's clear. They're not slaves. They understand their abilities. They understand what they can do. The issues with America is that we've already been subjected to inferiority. So we're not often told, hey, you could do a British accent if you wanted to. You could do this if you wanted to. So we're only uh, kind of like
Pigeonholed.
boxed in into doing American roles.
Right.
Whereas somebody, a black British actress, they're like, oh yeah, I can do this because over there is no margin, like where you're marginalized and told like, hey, look, stick to this. There's no typecasting when it comes up to over there because over there they're like, oh yeah, I can reach out for the stars. I can do these things. I'm not saying that may not be happening in in London or UK specifically, but a lot of those actors themselves say they have to branch out and go to America in order to get roles too.
Right.
So and because they don't get them in the UK, and so I think with that, I still feel like we're represented by them heavily. I think they're dope. I like Cynthia Erivo. I know a lot of people don't like her because she did the Harriet um, biopic and everything like that, and she's Black British. And I'm like, well, I mean, if they could do the job, you can't be upset at them. It's like you you got to pick the best person for the job,
Right.
and that's just the truth of the matter. Who is rightfully um, really bringing out the best out of this character? And if it just so happens to be a black British actor, why would you like diminish your brother from just another island,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
like those people still represent us. If
Right.
not, they represent us in the best way. You know why? Because they have no inferiority complex, and
Right.
they can show us something that we ourselves can tap into. So I think that's the beauty of. I personally think it's a good thing if we look at it in the positive spectrum. I know a lot of people are like, nah, but we Americans, but I understand it. I get it. It's pride. Like, yo, we was born here. Like, yo, it's us. I totally understand that. But no, yo, we got some heavy hitters, man. And we rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
Phenomenal,
Phenomenal. Yeah.
incredible guy, one of the best actors. And so I'm like, yo, we got people. If we want to show and prove, we have the opportunity to. So let's do it. Let's do it. If you guys really truly believe that you deserve that role, kill that audition. Kill it. Kill it. Or create something of your own, like what Nate Parker is doing. I'm
Mm.
like, yo, we need to show and prove. Destroy that inferiority complex and show, hey, we got this. We can do this. So shout out to everyone who is doing stuff like that. So shout out to Spike. Shout out to these other directors. Shout out to Ryan Coogler. Everybody who's really showing like, hey, we can do that too. We can tap into our royalty, tap into our abilities, our big abilities, and bring it. And they're doing it, and I like that. So I think when people are saying like, "Oh, these British actors are coming and they're doing all this," I think they're also by doing that you're not looking at the American actors and filmmakers and producers who are doing something with that. Why not champion that instead of bashing that? It was like, yo, we got stuff out here too that's popping.
Okay. You know what? All right. So let's do this. Let me get my clock ready. Stopwatch. So in 30 seconds, tell me one actor you'd like to meet and why. 30 seconds starting now.
Daniel Kaluuya. Why?
Okay.
Because I I just I just want to pick his brain, man, and understand like how he taps into certain like aspects of like how he brings about the life of these characters. I and also because I want to do his whole entire monologue on Black Mirror in front of him and see what he thinks.
Boom. 30 seconds. Reset. So one director you can sit down with right now or work with right now and why.
Nate Parker, because he's fearless. That's it.
That's it. That was
He's
good,
fearless.
man. That was like
Yeah.
12 seconds.
Yeah.
Um, any, hmm, let's see. If you could sit down with Spike Lee right now for like, let's say lunch or brunch, what would you say to him? 30 seconds.
I'll be like, can uh, can I use your dolly track shot for one of my films? You're an inspiration to me, bro. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. There's so
Still got
much I
time.
would want to say though. Like I would be so like I'll be like, damn, I have spikers in front of me, man. Oh my gosh, there's so many things I would say.
Mm.
There's so many things I would say. Spike is very inspiring.
Mm.
He's just dope. He's dope, man.
So, what do you
Am I?
have coming up? What's next?
Um. Okay. So, all right. Currently, I have Peace out. It's a one-shot film, one take, single take film, and it's going through the festival circuit right now. I have that. What's more important? Season 2 coming, and it's going to be very crazy. It's going to be very dark
Is that
and
currently
very.
in production or in post production?
Right now it's in development.
Okay.
So it's about to be in pre-production this summer, and I'm hoping to uh, get it into production full fledged during this whole entire summer and drop it either fall or winter, but not after this year. It's going to be before the end of this year. So you guys will see that. So it might drop during December.
Because
So
I definitely want to see
uh,
Arnold Hay.
yeah, Arnold Hair. Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah. Damn, that's what's up. I and so I have that. Um, I do want Peace to be a feature film, so I plan on doing that. Hopefully, the top of next year. The other films that are going to be dropping that I'm trying to do are Eyes and Hearts with No Name, a film called 14 Minutes, and a film called Love Alt Delete. And in the midst of that, I'm probably going to do one small little project um, that I'm probably going to drop like online. But that's what I got coming up, and obviously, what's more important, season two. That's going to be the big one because it's like some people are anticipating that, and it's been a while. So I know
I
a
know
lot
I
of people
am.
are waiting. Yeah, and so yeah, that's the one, you know, and I can't wait to drop it. It's gonna be a very reflective season. It's gonna change everything. Everything is gonna be flipped over its head like crazy. Um, yeah, a lot of things are gonna be unexpected. You guys are gonna be like, "What just happened?" So it's gonna be great, man. It's gonna be and they grow up fast. Like
Mm.
it gets real, really real fast. And yeah, in a feature film. Hopefully, I could do another feature. I'm trying to do two features, but yeah, those three films: Love Alt Delete, Eyes and Hearts with No Name, uh, 14 minutes. Oh, and a movie called Boy with Angel Wings. I'm sorry, shooting in Atlanta, with with Raquel B. John,
Okay.
Isaiah John's sister. So that's gonna be amazing. And I'm trying to get Terrell. I forget his last name. Terrell Hill. He's on Cobra Kai.
Okay.
Trying to get him on there too, man. So shout out to those guys. Respect and love to them. And yeah, and shout out to Bobby Huntley and Moon Ferguson and all these people. Like dope. So
So
yeah.
so you're currently on your journey, right? So, but when it's all said and done, and we're looking at the future now, how do you want your legacy to be defined?
Oh man, that's a really really good question. Before, and I have to answer this question like this. Before, I wanted to be like this guy who got like a bunch of, you know, Oscars and this, and like, be like Kanye at the Grammys type stuff. But as I got older, um, I want to be a lot more like, I guess, I guess you could say a black Spielberg, or like a mixture of like a black Spielberg and a Walt Disney. Like I want to be able to not only be not just big, like just to be big, but like very influential. Like when people talk about my films, I want them to be able to say like, "Yo, like," because the way people talk about like Jurassic Park and ET, it's kind of like you you throw that in like class courses, like they break it down. They're like, "Yo, this." Like I would like to be in a master class, like with like my films. I would like for people to be like, "Yo, I'm studying his films, like Frantzy films, like that." I want it to be on that level, and then I want to even heighten it further, where I can make films that can end up being in theme parks and being like these full-fledged experiences where people could go in or like ride like a simulation ride and be in the movie. I want that. That's what I want to create. I want people to get that same experience I got when I was in third grade. That's what I want people to have. I want just that's look at that. Such a film director. I'm doing a callback. I want people to to have the same feeling where when I first saw the mummy, I was like, whoa, that whole experience, that's what I want to create. I want to create it for little kids. I want to create it for teenagers, adults, everybody. And so I'm seeing like just I was when I got Disney Plus, I would watch like Imagineer and all that stuff, and I just saw how he like designed it, and I was like just inspired because I was like that's what I want to do. I want that's how I want to be defined. I want somebody to give people an experience fully, like not just film, but I want to immerse film into a whole experience, and I want people to understand that's how I want to be defined. As somebody who gives people experiences, and through the experiences, we get lessons, taught lessons of life, love, and connection, human connection. That's like a big thing for me. So
Right.
that's what I want to be. Almost like a film philosopher too.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very big on philosophers. I love philosophers. Aristotle, Frederick Nietzsche, all that. You know, so that's what I want to do. I want to be a film philosopher, like a philosopher in my own right, but like I do films, right? I want people to quote me and stuff. And at the same time, I want like that Walt Disney effect. I would love to create a big old theme park where it's just a bunch of films and people are just that's my vibe, bro. I would love to do that. That's how I want to be defined.
All right. As a Haitian American, um, are you going to dive more into that in your work?
Big time.
Mm-hmm.
Big time. Big time. If not more. More. The language, everything. Everything. I want to do a three-part film. Like you know how they do Lord of the Rings and all that? I want to do a three-part film where it's Haiti's past, 1804, the big migration, and then the 1990s
Mm.
going into 2000s. That's like my plan. I want to do that. I want it to be huge. I'm I'm not playing. That's what I want to do.
Mm.
I want it to be like a Marvel movie, like a Marvel film. That's how big, and I want it to be so Haitianed out. I don't care. I want people to like how Black Panther, everybody was wearing dashikis. I
Mm.
want all Haitians to come out with everything. You can wear church shoes. I don't care. Anything. Wear the chapels,
With the shop, well,
all
yeah.
that. I want everyone to be so proud of being Haitian because you gotta remember, when I was growing up, I was in it was a crossroads.
Right.
Um, I because Haitian American, if you're Haitian American, some of the Haitians be like, you're not Haitian enough.
Right.
Americans are like, you Haitian.
Right.
So you're like stuck in this gray area, right?
Right.
And so you're trying to find your identity. You're trying to be like, oh, so that's how it was. And deep down, I always was like, but I'm Haitian. I'm Haitian. I'm
Mm.
Haitian. But then, like, oh, you Haitian. And they would like throw dirt on the name,
Mm.
the culture. And I want to dispel all that. I want to denounce all that nonsense that was being spewed, that hate, all that. And I want to show the beauty, the integrity, the everything that is incredible about Haiti, about Haitians, everything, every single thing. I think we're the funniest people in the world. Period. You cannot tell me you could sit in a domino table with Haitians and not laugh at some point. You're lying to me. I love Haitians. Like Period. I could sit next to my mom and listen to her talk all day and laugh because she's ridiculous. She's funny. She's lying sometimes.
Yeah.
She's cracking me up. But her soul and her spirit is so different. Like Haitians have a different type of soul and spirit that I don't think other people um really know about, and it hasn't been tapped into at all in Hollywood or whatever.
At
It
least
hasn't
not
been shown
authentically.
at all at all.
Mhm.
At all. So me, I'm diving in deep, bro. Pause. But I'm going in. I'm about to go so inside the evolution of Haitians, the story, the colonizations that happened to us, everything from the Taino story down, like the historical aspects, all that, all that. I'm going in for Haitians. Oh hell yeah! Oh hell yeah! My peoples, yes, in entirely. Knew what's more important? I'm actually doing the episode where I go into my dad's past of how he got to America, and it's Haitian out, but it's like beautiful. It's a very beautiful story. His story is very crazy, and yeah, man. And I'm proud. I'm so proud of my culture, my peoples, everything. So yeah, this Haiti, Haitians, my Haitian heritage culture is going to be a big part of everything that I do. Everything, every single thing. Yep.
You gotta
Shoot, the
respect
theme
that, God.
part probably going to be red and
And
blue
blue.
with the Union La Force.
Yeah.
I don't care, man. That's what it's going to be. Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. Yeah.
Um. So where can people find you?
People can find me
Mm.
Instagram at Frantzy Moreau. FRANTZYMOREAU. I think that's the name right there, right?
That's the name.
They're gonna see that.
Yeah, they'll see it.
Okay, if they do, that's how it's spelled. So it's not confusing. There it goes right there.
Right. Yeah, I got you. I got you. Yep.
So at Frantzy Moreau, YouTube. You can find me on YouTube.com/slash all that juice. So all that juice. All ALL that THAT juice. JUICE. So you can find me in no space, all together, all that juice. You can find what's more important on there. You can find 5417 on there, and other short film projects you can watch and check out and enjoy, and look forward to and just subscribe because there's some new stuff that's gonna be on there. It's gonna be crazy, amazing, dope. Follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm gonna drop some new material on there too. I'm revamping my whole entire Instagram so it could be new. I'm doing a fresh take on it, kind of like what Joey Badass was doing with his. So I'm kind of reinventing my whole thing, and yeah, man, yeah, I'm excited. Follow at Peace Movie on Instagram as well, so you could keep, just keep in touch with that whole entire how we're gonna move with the festival circuits and everything. And yeah, man, and at what's more important, yeah, how could I forget? At what's more important Instagram. At what's more important. That's all you need to put. What's more important? What's without the apostrophe? WAHATSIMPORTANT. Hopefully, I didn't misspell anything. I was not good at spelling bee at all. So, uh,
They got it. They
you
got it.
guys,
It'll definitely be in the description.
thank you, thank you, thank you. So, you guys can follow me on that, and I appreciate you guys. Ultimately, you already know, and my man right here, Steve Noel, incredible. Thank you for having me, my dude. You're an amazing person.
Of
I'm honored. I'm very honored. Honored, honored, honored. And I know I spoke a lot, uh, but it's because you got me hyped. You asked some incredible questions, and yeah.
of course, brother. Thank you. Thank you, brother.